I am strictly child-free and genuinely dislike children, but if you abuse or neglect your child, I will defend that sticky chicken with everything in me.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Lives on Reddit. Don't forget to subscribe to be a for lifer.
Of course. And this sub is overwhelmingly sympathetic towards abused, neglected, unwanted, or unloved kids. Not wanting to hang out with children or raise your own does not equal wishing pain or mistreatment on children. I don't want to be a nurse for cancer patients or a caretaker to the elderly. Those jobs are simply not for me. No one ever assumes that because of this, I actually want cancer patients or old people to suffer. It's the same thing with kids. Anecdotally, it seems a lot of people on the sub factor their own parents' shortcomings or even abuse, and their own potential shortcomings if they were to become parents, into the child-free decision. I know I do. I think as a group, we have a great respect for the responsibility it should carry to care for a kid. Most of us have thought about it more thoroughly than many parents, unfortunately. My parents were not bad parents at all. But looking back, there were a number of things I don't like about how they raised me. They were not prepared to have me. This is made most notable by the fact that my siblings are 12 and 22 years older than I am, and they were not prepared to raise me in the environment they raised me in. I know exact areas where I'd put in the effort to do better if I were a parent, but the knowledge that such effort could still result in me inadvertently damaging that child, and awareness of my own problems that I know either wouldn't be fixed by having a child or, worse yet, could be exacerbated by having a child, is a good enough deterrent for me to not have kids. Exactly. I know my parents did their best, but still. I know I have the same issues with anxiety and control issues as my dad. After just having a dog, I know I'd be an anxious mess who never let my kids leave the house out of protectiveness, just like my dad was. There's no way around it. Just the thought of the anxiety of it makes me queasy. I was at Universal Studios early this year, before the virus really got out of hand. I witnessed a kid waking up from a stroller, all of maybe 7 or 8 years old, and stretched and accidentally hit his mom in the lower left back. The bee was berating him in public, and the kid was bawling repeatedly, saying it was an accident. Pretty sure I was glaring at her with the intimidation of all adult children of narcissists and said, as calmly as I could, "He said it was an accident. Chill out, lady." She looked at me and didn't say anything. Neither did her husband. Kid eventually calmed down. I didn't stop glaring at them until we left. Be nasty to everyone else you want. Don't do it to a child. In public, after he woke up. There's no freaking way he hit you hard enough in your lower back to elicit that kind of response. If you have the little chickens, you better be a great freaking parent or I will end you. And this is exactly why I don't want kids. Because if I woke up tomorrow being irrevocably responsible for a child, I would give that little chicken the best, most amazing and loving childhood ever. Because that's what they deserve, what everyone deserves. But that would mean sacrificing so much of myself, so if I had the choice, which thankfully I do, I wouldn't choose it. But those people who do choose it, as you said, they better be great freaking parents because their little spawn deserves nothing less. It seems like child-free people are the only ones that remember that kids are small humans who will become adults. Yes, they're drooling, screaming, often incoherent little cretins, but it's not their fault. There is an entire person in there who will remember how they were treated and suffered, potentially for their whole life, if they are mistreated at that vulnerable stage. Not liking kids is an excellent reason not to have them, but it's not a reason to abuse them, nor is it a reason to excuse others abusing them. If you can't take your toddler having a meltdown, or your infant being needy, or your teenager having mood swings, you shouldn't have committed to raising a kid. There is no good excuse for abuse. 100% agree. One of the many reasons I am child-free is because I know I couldn't tolerate the inevitable child or teenage behavior and demands. Abuse is always inexcusable. This needs to be pinned for all those craphead breeders who swear that child-free means we love hurting and abusing children. I don't think anyone on the sub would purposefully cause serious bodily harm to a child of any age. A lot of us were abused and treated like crap. No one wants to repeat the cycle. I'm 99% sure a step relative, unsure how else the shorthand nephew's maternal aunt, hates me. I'm child-free, but I was the one who had to step in and go to the authorities about them letting an intimacy assaulter around their kids. And when they found out, they tried to confront the intimacy assaulter themselves, and the intimacy assaulter up and moved immediately, and authorities haven't tracked them in 5 years. I'm still ticked. I have helped raise several cousins. I have no need to raise children of my own. I also get overstimulated easily, so all the noise they create is a lot for me to deal with. That being said, I have relatives adopted through foster care, and the crap their bio parents did to them is beyond the pale. I would gladly end every one of their bio parents with a baseball bat. You don't hurt kids. Period. Being child-free gives me the time to volunteer in the mentoring and loving program for small children. We go to group or foster homes and love on kids, telling them they're super pretty and are smart, hanging out with them, or just playing the role of a supportive aunt. It is similar to the Big Brother, Big Sister program. I won't reveal the name because it would give away my location. I read some nasty comments about how toxic this page is and how child-free people talk about how horrible kids are. Most people on here are child advocates. We just don't want kids. Not a crime to not want kids. I had a nice conversation with some folks on here about adoption and ways to help kids. That conversation allowed me to realize that adoption is one of many options for supporting kids and positively contributing to society. That's the only reason I'd adopt. There's so many kids who need loving homes and families. Most importantly, I realize I'm not a bad person if I decide against it in the future, or if I just learn I'm not the best person for it. It's okay if I'm not that person. Not having kids of my own gives me the time and freedom to make these kinds of choices. Plus, the lovely folks on here have taught me how to have these kind of conversations with my boyfriend about all this. I may save that for its own post. I work retail and see this crap all the time. I work in the South. It's so normal to beat the crap out of your kid in front of everyone. I had a lovely flashback once because some dude started wailing on his daughter with full force slaps in freaking public. I had to take a freaking break because I couldn't stop crying. I don't even know what she did, but unless that little girl had freaking murdered someone, she did not deserve that. I hate kids screaming as much as the next person, but take them outside and talk to them. Don't freaking hit them. All hitting me and throwing me taught me was that I am never enough no matter how hard I try, and that I bruise like a freaking banana. Kids are irrational, but hey, try to talk to them. They're smarter than you think. I also live in the South and have seen the worst parenting. I used to work at a daycare and was taking care of a kid who showed clear signs of having a bipolar disorder. I tried talking to the mom about her kid's behavior, and she thought it would be fixed if she just yelled and beat her kid. It was awful. My manager didn't do anything about it either till the kid had severely hurt another, leading to that person going to the hospital for stitches. If you know anything about bipolar disorder, it's mostly medical or genetic, not trauma related or a learned behavior. Luckily enough, the kid wasn't allowed to come back till they had a mental health evaluation and the proper meds for her disorder. After that, the kid completely changed. She was doing better in school. None of the other coworkers had any problems with her. Thank goodness the poor girl got help. Her mom probably still makes her feel guilty for even having shown outward signs of mental illness. I have psychotic depression and likely complex PTSD. Diagnosis will come down the line when the DSM finally recognizes it as an actual thing. I used to have these horrible delusions when I was a kid. I thought my mother had been replaced with an identical clone. I thought my grandmother had lied to me about the death of one of my favorite cats. I thought people could read my mind for years. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror for years without having an existential crisis. I thought my sister was meant to be my replacement and that my parents were going to drop me off on the side of the road and never come back. I was sent to therapy for a bit after my sister was born because I decapitated all of my baby dolls and some of my Barbies. But that didn't really lead to anything other than, she's just not adjusting to having a sibling. It wasn't until I was 14 and tried to drown myself that I actually got psychiatric help. And 2 psych wards later, I was on meds. I still struggle a lot, My last breakdown was around Christmas 2019. I don't even know why I was so sad. I was just extremely sad. I cried for like 2 days straight. It felt like someone I loved had died, and no one had died. It felt terrible. I managed to get into an outpatient program, thank goodness, and I have been doing better since about March of this year.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't leave. Subscribe.